a lot of people pretty much all but expect, they've written it off, that it's a House will go back to the Dems. You expect that, but you say it's only a 65% chance.
Well, yeah, the Democrats certainly have, the odds in their favor today. The map is so big and so expansive in terms of the number of districts that are in play. But the reality is that, pundits are once bitten, twice shy after 2016. And I think Democrats are cautiously optimistic that they're going to be able to take back the House today. But it's hard to really put a higher set of odds on it than about 65% at this point.
Yeah, and Americans love political change. We forget that in 5 of the last 6 federal elections, the Americans have tossed out the party in power, whether that's the president or whether that's the Senate or the House. So is the only constant here going to be change, that even if the Dems take the House now, that in 2 years and in 4 years, that we may be talking about the exact opposite?
I think that's probably true. The pendulum politically is swinging back and forth faster than it ever has. So you can certainly see the opportunity for change increasing and really projecting itself much more quickly than it has in the past. I think, 2 years from now, the Senate map, for instance, favors Democrats in a way that this year it favors Republicans. And so, 2 years from now, you could absolutely see a flip-flop where if Democrats take the House today and Republicans hold on to the Senate, you could see the exact opposite in 24 months.
And we also need to remember there are 33 gubernatorial elections, and there's a lot of very important local and state laws that are out there that could affect the CNBC viewer. Let's talk about a few of them now. And you guys have some great work. We talk about oil and gas a lot, at least I do. And there's a big law, Proposition 112 in Colorado, that could affect oil and gas drilling there. Tell us about it and what the likely outcome is.
Yeah, that's a really interesting proposition out in Colorado. So that rule would establish a 2,500-foot setback for new oil and gas development in Colorado, which, if you ask industry out there, will tell you that will basically put new development in Colorado to a halt. So industry spent a ton of money out there, well north of 30, 40 million bucks, trying to make sure that that voters vote no on that today. We have a tendency to think of Colorado potentially as an environmentally strong state, but it's really a purple state. There's an interesting gubernatorial race out there today as well. We think that industry's done a good job of positioning itself to get a no vote and a positive outcome for Proposition 112 today.
And that would effectively mean perhaps more oil and gas drilling in Colorado. If it fails, we get we get more drilling.
If it fails, we get more drilling. If it passes, you're going to get you're really going to see the industry pumping its brakes out there, which has read-throughs to the state budget and things like that as well.
This is incredible and really endemic of the kind of good work you guys do there at Height, which is that we've talked about the Keystone Pipeline a lot. We pretty much think it's a done deal. However, there's a race for the Nebraska Public Service Commission District 1, a local election, which you believe could have an impact on the fate of the Keystone Pipeline.
Absolutely. People tend to forget that there's still ongoing litigation around the pipeline route through Nebraska. The Nebraska PSC voted to approve the existing route 3-2. But yeah, in that first district down in that northeast corner of Nebraska, or southeast corner of Nebraska, rather, the longstanding Republican commissioner there is retiring, and there's a really interesting race there. A woman named Krista Yoakum is running on the Democratic side. Height's in an interesting position here. Our head of energy research, Katie Bays, and our head of special situations research, Steph Miller, who runs our election projection, they're both from Nebraska, and so they're keeping a really close eye on this one. If Krista Yoakum can pull that out, draw well in Lancaster County down there, she could shift the balance of power around the particular route approval that Keystone's got going. They lose some litigation going on right there and have to go back to the Nebraska PSC to get a new route approved. There could be a very interesting question about what they can get through that PSC with its new politics starting tomorrow.
All right, outside of oil and gas, and another one of these kinds of local votes where a yes actually means a negative for something. Let's go to California and talk about Proposition 8. Proposition 8 would effectively limit the amount of revenue that kidney dialysis clinics are, basically sort of a price fix, I guess, for some type of dialysis treatment there. There has been record spending against it. I assume that is the dialysis industry and a lot of pharmaceutical companies that are spending to try to kill Proposition 8. Tell us more about it and what you think is likely to happen.
Yeah, Proposition 8 is a monster out in California. Companies like DaVita and Fresenius, American Renal, they're spending north of $100 million to try and defeat this. As you mentioned, it essentially puts a revenue cap on what companies are going to be able to make for dialysis out in California. They're spending gobs of money to try and get a no vote there. Again, you think of California as a state that's leading the blue wave that might very well project positively toward a vote like this, toward capping revenue and against industry. But they've outspent industry's outspent their opponents 7, 8, 9, 10 to 1 at this point. And so they've really put the money to work there to try and get that no vote, which would be positive for the industry.
Yep.
And we think at the end of the day, the odds are about 3 to 1 that they get that no vote and get the win for the industry today.
Well, that could pop those stocks. American Renal is ticker's ARA. DaVita is DVA. So there's some public companies that certainly have an interest in the outcome of Proposition 8 in California, as well as oil and gas in Colorado.